Hiya folks, how y'all doing? This is Con Ulrich coming to you again with another episode of Shogun 2 Total War Battle School. Today we have ourselves actually a real thriller of a battle. My opponent over here is Benjamin.Win11, and we are on was it the Bay of Many Faces or something like that? In my attempt to keep this as regular as I did last time, I'm going to take a quick moment to tell you about the map. So we have, for some reason, Buddhist prayer shrine out in the water with ships apparently right there. The three buildings on this map. So we have first farmhouse for stamina, we have an archery dojo for reload and ammunition, and a shrine. Now, I will say my opponent fought a very, very good fight on this particular map. If you look at the army compositions, they work out rather well. You'll see me initially move my 2 units of Yari Cavalry as well as a couple units of Yari Samurai up the hill to go and try to take this archery dojo. I had hoped that we could fight our battle down in this area, but at the same time I was determined to take this building and thereby open up a flanking pattern around to the side. Take a quick look at the rest of my forces. Actually, I'm going to put this on slow motion, not pause. I have 2 units of Bow Samurai. I have 2 units of Yari Samurai down here. I have a third one I'm moving up into the trees, as well as a fourth into the trees. The fifth is moving up with the Yari Cavalry. I have my Vet Katana Samurai, as well as another unit, kind of holding behind. Naginata attendants are there as well, with my avatar. And my Light Cavalry and Naginata attendants are chilling over here in the trees for a little bit of a surprise. I admit, I was really hoping my opponent would fall for something very, very obvious, but he was a little bit smarter than that. As for him, I'm going to take a quick look up here at this cavalry moving in. As you can see, it's... there's a stupid radar. There we go. We have one of his units that gets his Vet Cavalry, Yaris, and his Bow Cavalry right beyond it. And that's good. Very good, in fact. Unfortunately for him, Bow Cav is no good in close combat. And with my formation being deeper than it is wide, yes, my guys get engulfed, but at the same time, you can see it start to go south for his guys real quick. His Yard Cav loses a third almost instantly. They get chewed up again. His Bow Cav flees at the same time. I decide that, hey, you know what, it's time to chase him down so that we don't have to worry about Cav moving forward. For some reason, I thought to myself, hey, this is all the cavalry that he has. This is my first mistake. Meanwhile, my own troops take a little bit of damage. I probably should have split these forces up. I figured for some reason that he'd be shattered as opposed to broken. I thought it was more important for me to take out the cavalry that can hit from a distance, because I have seen times when Bow Cav has won the day. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So his routing cavalry moves away, but has the opportunity to reform, and it will do so very, very quickly. In the meantime, his Bow Cav gets slaughtered. Now that action up here is kind of handled, Yari Samurai move in immediately to kind of consolidate my control over the area, and let's take a quick look at what he's got going on over here. You'll see in a minute one of my cavalry units move back over here into the trees with my Yari Samurai around, so that way they can threaten the flank, but that's kind of a later thing in this particular battle. Forming his front line, we have a couple units of Bow Samurai though. We have what, 2 units of Yari Samurai? Yeah, pretty sure 2 units of Yari Samurai. A Vet unit of Yari Ashiguru in the middle. His second line is mostly, in fact, all composed of Katana Samurai. A third with Lone Sword Samurai. Lone Sword Ashiguru, excuse me. His general, and then of course, another unit of Vet Ashiguru in the back. Now I have to admit, I should have suspected something. There's something a little bit off about the way he's moving in. Very, very confident in how he's approaching the situation. You'll see his kind of beaten up Yard Cavalry kind of chilling in the back. Nothing to really worry about, especially if I have 2 units where I have them. Look at the radar, you will see that I have one of my units over here in the back capping the morale point, which I think probably did help out with succeeding in this battle. But for the moment, we'll get rid of that. So now, what you see here is just vaguely out of bow shot. My troops are supporting a nice little loose formation. His will match mine in a second. And you'll see that my line looks awfully thin. In fact, it looks really, really frail. and I kind of intended for that to happen for multiple reasons. The first of these is that I want him to be very, very overconfident, and he's got to know that there are troops in the forest, at least here, because he's seen me move troops back and forth. He might suspect there are troops here as well, but he doesn't really act on it immediately. At the same time, in the middle of a battle, you might lose track of troops, think to yourself, oh man, cool, I have all these guys on the run, it's not a big problem. Everything like that. The second that you assume that, however, it gives you the opportunity for your opponent to flank, in this particular case from either side. However, even knowing this, he has a very, very good position, and I'm going to slow this down again for a second, because it's, yep. So we'll start to fire arrows back and forth in probably about 15 or 20 seconds in game. But for the time being, you have to think about how our forces are matching up. Strictly in terms of infantry to infantry, he probably has a slight edge on me. These Lone Sword Ashigaru will probably take out my Naginata attendants pretty easily, though it's not really a huge concern. In terms of cavalry, having the light cav isn't as much help as necessarily having another unit of vet. Yari cav might be, but either way, really not too bad there. As you see these arrows slowly firing back and forth, you see our bow samurai are pretty much well matched, except for some reason RNG determines that he gets to hit a lot more of my guys in the first volley. But we tangle with that for a bit. In the meantime, I hope that he's sufficiently distracted. Then move my Yari cavalry over into the forest up here to try to hit his right. You'll see, of course, my guys over here take some really bad losses pretty quickly. Mostly because the secondary unit has not been attacked at all. And I'm kind of okay with that. These aren't vet troops, so I'm alright losing a bunch of guys. It's not a huge deal. As I said, I try to move Yari cavalry immediately in to perhaps pick off the Lone Sword Ashigaru or the Katana Samurai, figuring that if I can even up the infantry parity a little bit, we should be in much better shape. In terms of spearmen, I actually have an advantage, I think, in spearmen, but with his Katana Samurai as well as the peasants over here with swords, it's not a really, really good idea. But he has done something intelligent. He's put another unit of cavalry over here in the trees, which messes things up for me pretty badly. And as you see, I attempted to bring in my Yari Samurai in to salvage the day, but I kind of mistimed these particular forces moving in. And even though his troops are taking quite a fair amount of damage, mine are taking a lot more. And with reinforcements far enough away, you'll see them break in probably 15 to 20 seconds again. So even knowing he's got the other unit of Yari cavalry, at that point I'm a little bit more on guard. Is he hiding more troops in the trees? What's going on? So I'm a little bit nervous at this point, I really am.
Our men are running from the battlefield.
And that's the announcement from my Yari cavalry running. Now, what you might start noticing over here is that, okay, cool, I'm firing right here. These guys are going to continue to get more and more beat up. That's about to happen. It's going to happen anyway. Not a whole lot I can do about that. And unfortunately, with my Yari Samurai a little bit too late to the party, he brings his Yari cavalry out to form up over here on the sides. A good move. He really played this pretty well. You'll see his second unit move out over here, and my first thought was really not with these troops over here. I thought maybe I could run out and hammer them as quickly as possible. But you'll see him kind of swing them around, so that way any movement by me is going to be met with at least one of his troops attacking at the same time. Now, although my archers are taking fairly bad losses, these are bow samurai, which means they're not going to run quite as quickly as some of the other troops I might have. And with an inspiration from the general, we're even better still. Anyway, I decided that's the perfect time for my second unit of bowmen to get involved. And you'll see he's hammered one of my units pretty hard, but in return already I'm doing quite a decent amount of damage to him. However, with his cavalry being masticated, my spear samurai anyway, are going to be a lot less effective. And although I really, really desperately want to shoot at this katana samurai, I begin to have my archers fire at second line troops. Got to take away some veterans from him to kind of even that particular part of the playing field. It's not going to be great, but at the same time it'll be okay. It'll help the melee component of the battle a little bit later. It will allow my, at least allow my cavalry to be a lot more effective. And this might be the time I mentioned the first mistake by my opponent. While he's done a good job in selecting a position, I can't really easily flank him from either side because of these ridges. His cavalry has already been thrown away, which has given me a lot of mobility around the field. If I can move troops around to the side behind, it's a lot better for me.
From the battlefield.
That'd be the
Shameful display.
That'd be our unfortunate archers over here who have done pretty much all they're supposed to do, which is take arrows, die, and do some casualties. In the meantime, you'll see I've already killed a third of his Yari Ashigaru, and his own archers will switch their aim to a second position. In the meantime, his Yari cavalry kind of continues to stand over to one side, and we're at what appears to be a bit of a standoff. However, his mistake in not putting enough space between his own units, but that is his archers and his melee units, allows me to kind of even the playing field a lot more. And you can see already, while he's taking out archers eventually do run out of arrows. Spears and swords only run out when their owners die. You can see him trying to draw out my cavalry, which I allow him to do. I hammer into one group.
Our hidden units have been discovered, my lord.
And I'm not entirely sure why he did this, but he allowed me to sacrifice one unit, essentially what would be one unit, for this second opportunity to flank and destroy his cavalry. I suppose I do understand in retrospect, at this point his cavalry is pretty much been taken out of play, but we really could have done a lot more than what they did. You can see my troops are still fighting with the Yari Samurai, getting a couple of casualties over here. But, yeah, it's not going particularly well for my troops. Give it the radar again for a second. Because now with the battlefield kind of condensing a little bit more, it'll be a lot easier for us to handle things. Now, as my own troops start moving back, I do want to make mention of the fact that there's another mistake going on here. And it's not so much the radar necessarily, although that would definitely help slow this down, because I want to get the initial point of impact here too. If you notice troops behind you, fighting in a circle, fighting with like a logger idea in this kind of fortified position, it's not going to be wonderful for you, but at the same time, probably the worst thing you can do is just make a defensive force facing the wrong way. Unfortunately for him, that's exactly what happens, and his veteran Yari Ashigaru, which are in a good place to stop any kind of cavalry push, take some real bad quick losses. In the meantime, I will say he does do a couple good things. One is brings a group of Yari Samurai to prevent me from flanking his Katana Samurai in the forest, and he moves his own Lone Sword Ashigaru in to overwhelm these Yari Samurai. Again, you know, swords beat spears, spears beats cavalry, cavalry beats swords. And with the Spears of Doom over here, all being committed in this area, I think to myself, this is a perfect opportunity to hit his forces in the corner, in the forest rather. Now I know I just made a comment about how swords beat spears, but with his cavalry being defeated, there's absolutely no reason for me to really hold on to my spears too often. Maybe it's like a pinning force, and for that already I have 2 more units moving forward. And with these flanking forces, he's not going to go any further in, knowing that I have forces behind him already. So as my flanking forces are starting to get hurt pretty badly, and my own charging forces over here are starting to get hurt pretty badly, I managed to bring in at least part of my cavalry in to shock.
General is in grave danger, my lord.
To shock his veteran Katana Samurai. Now, as you will see soon, with these flanking options not really going to be there anymore, I bring up my light cavalry, as you can see right here, with my Naginata attendants over here to the side. I am a little nervous about moving anywhere close to these guys, given that there are lots and lots of spears and these lovely little flesh horses right here. But while this fight over on my left and his right continues. And he starts to pour more and more of his forces into it. Correctly, by the way, I have to note, Yari Samurai to combat my Yari Cavalry, and they're going to take some pretty bad losses soon enough. My own swordsmen are moving forward to kind of handle their own business. And this might be another error that he could have handled a little bit better. One is, as I'm charging at him, what he probably should be doing is countercharging with his own Katana Samurai, coming from both angles to pin my troops before they get anywhere near his veteran piece of the army.
Our men are running from the battlefield.
Those Yari Samurai in back,
Shameful
completely
display.
understandable. Once again, I will speed this up so that we can see the initial slam. You can just see the way that his line bends. That doesn't go over particularly well for him. His bow samurai, whatever little arrows they have left, are firing, which is the correct thing to do, mind you, to make sure that the enemy troops are retreating. Just keep hitting them with the same stuff over and over and over again. Unfortunately, what is not the correct choice is to throw all your forces in immediately into combat. This, as you'll see, will allow another charge, and forgive me if I do this again, but you'll see this massive wedge get carved into the back of his troops. Yes, I will be losing a lot of troops because they're cavalry moving into guys with spears, but at the same time, the morale component cannot be underestimated. Now, on my left, things are not going particularly well. You can see me moving my Yari Samurai in, trying to catch up to his bow samurai, but they're not going to catch him, and I know that. It's just to move his troops back a little bit more, and hopefully to move him far enough back that I can swing one around and hit these guys on the flank. But leaving my left to cope as best as it might, which is, let's say, not particularly well, as you can see. He outnumbers my troops pretty much about 4 or 5 to 1. I then rush my own troops in to kind of pin and take care of the loss of his veteran forces. So while he has 3 units up here, and I really only have about 1, and then 1 really, really, really hurt, on this right flank, he has very, very little. He has, what, 1 wavering unit, another one shattered, he's got his general over here, and let's think about what he has left. At this point already, the battle begins to kind of come to a close, which is why I send my Naginata attendants over here to capture this last building. I figured to myself, if the battle continues to go longer, at that point I can just go and take a domination victory. Now, Yari Cavalry, as you can see, they're pretty carved up, and that's going to happen even more so when I have them hit
Our hidden units have been discovered.
these
my lord.
peasants in the back. Now, he probably does what's about as best as possible under the circumstances. He continues to try to continue to push his advantage on the left flank, even sending his Katana Samurai over here to hit mine on the flank. But if you look at just the terms of the sheer number of pendants as well as just kind of overall health, you see a lot of flickering blue and black, and not so much in terms of red. Now that may be because a lot of my guys are dead, or that may be because I really have a lot more forces left in the field. So, Farmers Unite over here, these Yari Ashiguru are going to get carved up. As you can see, my Naginata attendants, who I normally wouldn't bring, were a nice way to kind of charge and take care of these guys. They now break them. And with the Yari Ashiguru falling to pieces, you'll see me reset my line in a second, moving across. So now, with the battle the way it is, I'm already beginning to win a domination victory. You could have just seen just now, I have these last building captured. But there's little good if he's able to continue his success, which is, what, 1 to about 1.5, 2.5? We'll be very gentle and say about 1.5 units of troops, worth of troops, being left on his right flank and my left. Unfortunately, as you might assume, hitting peasants with swords when you have cavalry is not a particularly good thing for swordsmen. And although he has his spears there immediately to take care of my own general, this battle's pretty much over. So, as this battle begins to wrap up, what can we learn from this? One, if I can pull this map back up, is that although the buildings should not be your primary objective, if your opponent leaves some of these buildings open, take them. It may not be great, it may not be a massive boon for you, but take them. It's always worth it. This is some way, let's put it that way. Second thing, archers.
Our men are running from the battlefield.
Sorry, I see.
Shameful display.
This man in the background over here has got to bellow again about my men in the battlefield running. The second thing to learn from here. Archers are really, really good at skirmishing. Yes, that's true. We all know that, and that's pretty obvious from the fact that's like, cool, that's what they're made for, to hit a guy from a distance. Well, unfortunately, they are not good for. I'm going to pause this right here because this battle is just about to run down. What they're not good for, however, is getting to pitch combat. That's obvious. Very, very obvious. And if you want to, I'm going to go and tour the battlefield real quick. You use your archers again to take out other things the enemy that don't use the ammunition, that are able to kind of take away your advantage. In this particular case, yes, he was whooping me with his archers against my archers. That was easy enough, but then again, my archers weren't firing back at him. If you look at where my troops die, it's right here, all right here. Now, where did his troops die? We have a large number of them right here. We have a lot more going on right here. And yes, some of that is the melee, but at the same time, a lot more of it will be the archers picking off troops left, right, and center. With his cavalry being lost very early on in the battle, he probably could have been a little bit better in his positioning a unit of spears to kind of, say, ward off my own cavalry. But then again, his move in the force was definitely better than mine. I actually was kind of an idiot with that one. But all that is to say, again, deploy your forces against the correct troops. Spears against cavalry. Swords against spears. And cavalry against swords. I mean, it's really not that difficult. And if the enemy has taken out one of your arms of combat, make sure you can handle what's left. Whew, forgive me, I'm talking a lot in this particular episode, and I don't want to subject you guys to any noise of like drinking cups or anything like that. So, yikes, yeah. So you can see right here, Domination Victory is happening. His own troops are fleeing. You'll see the game over screen in a second. But it's necessary to focus on just again to wrap up a couple things. One is deploy your troops against the correct targets. Another thing is use your archers where they're going to do the most good, which is not against enemy archers, it's against the enemy's troops, the enemy's melee troops, the enemy's cavalry troops. Make sure you're targeting what's going to hurt your enemy a lot more. As always, watch those radars and keep an eye out when there are forces flanking you. If the enemy is charging your spearmen with swordsmen, quick, get your own swordsmen over there or hit them with cavalry. If the enemy is attacking you from the rear, do not form a defense 180 degrees away from where they are. That said, my opponent really did do a very good job in this particular battle. I lost somewhere in the area of about 700 or 800 troops. Whew. At the end of the day, though, my troops were able to carry the day and make another victory for me. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. At the same time, Benjamin Win 11. We were a good opponent, and I hope I see you again out there soon. But ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of another lesson in Battle School. I hope you have been able to glean a lot more information as these videos are moving forwards. If you like the video, you know what to do with it. Tell all your friends, get a billboard, whatever you want to do. That works for me. And feel free to leave comments below. All right, folks, this is Conor signing off. Take it easy.